Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Michael McCarville and this is Fun with Fallen Flags, episode 57. I'll put notes in the body of this video so you can go find the Facebook group and the YouTube group. If you would decide you want to subscribe, we're going to have a lot more stuff coming out. So anyway, back to business. We're going to do a quick Rio Grande Southern trestle. So the prototype was a 146 milepost, and since they lettered them A, B, C, D along the mileposts, this obviously was at 146B. So it was milepost 146, the second one. This is really a simple project. It's 4 bents. The vertical supports are called bents. So we're going to build 4 of those. The 2 on the ends are only going to be about half exposed. They're going to be kind of buried, and then the center ones. The whole trestle is only about 10 foot high at the high point, so it's really just a gully. So 4 bents, we're going to build 4 of these that you see pictured, and then we're going to tie them all together. So like I said, this was at Hesperus, Colorado. The materials that we're going to use are 12 by 12 posts and the cap on top. So all the material you see there are all 12 by 12s. We're going to put some cross braces, some X braces across there. And if you use 3 by 12s or 2 by 12s, either of those would work great. Across the top, the piece that actually unifies all of the trestles and that the rails sit on top of, we're going to use 18 by 18 inch scale beams. Typically Rio Grande would use 3 8 by 24s sandwiched together in pairs. But the photos on this one looks like, since it's a small bridge, we're not going to go with that. We're going to go with 18 by 18. The photo shows that the dimensional lumber on there is not nearly that large. So there's not going to be any girts, which are the members that tie the bents together. And the sills on the bottom, there's nothing that shows up on the photos. They don't look like they're exposed at all. If they're there, they're buried. Otherwise, they go straight into the ground. So like I said, this is going to be a really simple project. So that's the dimensional information, and let's go ahead and get started on the build. Okay, so for bridge 146B, the dimensions that we're going to go with are going to be a 12-foot cap on the top. Normally, Rio Grande Southern do about a 14. The whole height of this thing is only 10 feet. And then the angles on the posts on the sides are going to be 10 degrees. The centers are straight up and down. So one thing I'm a big fan of doing is anytime I'm building something that I have to replicate and build many of, I like to do a template. And here you can see a jig that I threw together for this project. It's really simple. It's just, you take the dimensions of what we just talked about, you draw it out on a piece of wood like we saw, and then I just extended everything down. So if I want to make something larger, I can. Also, as you're gluing these pieces in, it's a good idea to have your master in place, put it on there, and then all of this stuff lines up, and you know that your master that you've meticulously created is going to sit in here, and anything that you build is also going to fit and replicate that master. One thing I learned when I did my large jig on here was I had problems when I was gluing pieces together that some of the glue might seep down into the jig and attach itself. Well, you can see here that I've got an opening in the back, and this is actually the joints are going to lay right over the top of this. So if I put any glue on here, either white glue or super glue or whatever I decide to use, if it seeps through, it's going to seep through and it's just going to hit that gap. So I tested that out, works great. So drill a couple of holes, straighten them out with either a cutting tool, a Dremel tool, or even just a drill, moving it back and forth. Put a gap there. You'll be really glad you did. Next step, the alcohol and India ink solution has dried, and you'll notice it looks a lot like driftwood. So the second step is to wash it with color so that it brings up the brown. So it's going to look real grainy after the driftwood phase, and then we're going to just add color to that. So oil-based raw umber, artist paint in the tube. Doesn't take much of this to a solution of odorless thinner is what I'm using here. It says medium cleaner. So again, all this stuff at your local craft store. So easy to find. So let the stuff sit in there, soak for a little bit, test it with a few pieces, see how it looks, and then if you see a few pieces, like there's one there towards the center that it looks like it's driftwood still, let it soak longer, or take it out and wash it with a paintbrush and let it stuff dry on there. So there is going to be a lot of variation, and that's what we're going for. That's the key to this step. So it's okay to let it soak in there for a while, but again, use some prototype photos or photos that you've taken. Anyway, we want that step to be complete, and once that's complete, then we'll start gluing the pieces up in the jig. So go and grab your jig again and put the outside angle pieces in, put the center straight pieces in, and then the cap on the top, and glue those together. And you're just going to get that piece that we first showed. So you're going to get something like this, but we still have to add these cross members. So get your chopper out again, go ahead and chop these pieces, and then glue these in place. Now, you can use Titebond glue, you can use super glue, whatever you want. Just be real careful that you don't overdo it. I used both on these and just tested which one I like better. Both have advantages. You have a lot more time to work with a Titebond glue, and the super glue works really quick, but the wood absorbs it really fast, so you have to use a lot more of the super glue. Doesn't matter, either one you're going to get a really good solid fit. I ended up going heavier onto super glue if you want to replicate what I've done. Now, don't forget that this bridge is 10 feet in the center, but on the sides the ground goes up because the pilings aren't nearly as tall. So I still made the bents the same height, but what I did was made the cross braces only about maybe a third of the way up is where they end. And the whole reason for that is this is going to be buried in the ground and this one is going to be in the center, so it's not going to be buried except for maybe a little bit on the end. So now we're going to start putting the retaining walls on the outside too. So what we want to do is we want it to look like this when we're done. And all it really is it's 5 boards that are glued together. Just stagger them. And again, it doesn't have to be exact. A little variation's okay, but you want to get it kind of close. Okay, so we're going to glue that together as a platform, and then we're going to glue a bent, the shorter supports, right on top, flush with the back. Okay, and then we'll have 2, and that's all we need for the. Now, one note is this cross brace, you can leave it off if you wanted to, but I do like the way it looks, so I did add it. I also put a spacer towards the top, so that way this platform will sit flush on here. If you left this off, you could leave the spacer off and it would speed you up a little bit. At this point, all 4 bents are done, and the retaining wall pieces are on the backs of the bents that are on the outside. So 43-foot beams, 18 by 18 in HO scale. We're going to go ahead and glue all of this together, and then we'll take a look at the final product. Okay, so that's it for this project. That's the finished assembled trestle for the Rio Grande Southern Bridge 146B. I'm going to do some additional complexity on future trestles where we're going to add some other things, but as far as a simple intro quick project, there you go. So look for the notes down below. You can see the YouTube channel subscription and the Facebook group. Feel free to join those. Other than that, we'll look for you on the next episode of Fun with Fallen Flags. Thanks, guys. Take care.